Elm tree fibers are so tightly woven they used to use them as water pipes for hundreds of years. When engineers needed to move water through cities like London, Philadelphia, Boston, and New York, they bored out elm logs and bound them together with metal bands to form the plumbing systems that let those cities grow. As long as the pipes stayed wet, they remained watertight and useful for centuries. The wood never rotted, it just worked. The trees themselves grew fast enough to change a landscape in a single human lifetime. They grow 3 to 6 feet in a year, and they get up to 100 feet tall. That's about the height of stacking 5 giraffes on top of each other. Of course, if you stack 5 giraffes on top of each other, they won't much like it. Most of them reach that full height in 20 to 30 years, which meant a person who planted a seedling could actually enjoy the shade from a mature tree before reaching old age. By the 1800s, almost every town square and street in eastern North America was arched over by American elms. Cities loved them, they were useful, they grew fast, you planted the tree and your kids got to play in the shade it made. The wood itself was so pliable that archers in Europe used elm when they couldn't find yew to make longbows. They planted entire groves of elm trees specifically to make sure they had enough wood for their archers, specifically the Welsh archers. The same flexibility that made them useful for bending made them perfect for other things too. The wood resists splitting, which made it great for wagon wheels, boat keels, and the foundations of old bridges. The interlocking grain meant it would never come apart. Then, in 1928, Dutch elm disease showed up on a shipment of imported lumber. It's called Dutch elm disease because it came on a Dutch shipment, but it's actually an Asian disease. When it first infected trees in the Netherlands, they survived better, but the strain adapted and it became devastating all across Europe, and especially in the United States. We lost practically all of the elm trees. The disease works like this. A beetle hops from tree to tree and carries the virus. The tree's defense is to close off the veins on either side of the beetle boring to prevent the bleeding out. But what that does is trap the phage inside. It causes the tree to starve to death because it prevents the nutrients from the leaves coming down to the roots and prevents the nutrients from the roots getting up to the leaves. Once infected, the tree dies within 2 years. Cities have planted elms along the sides of all their streets, so when the disease spread, we lost entire city blocks of shade. We had to move them to maple trees or ash trees, but then another disease came through and wiped out the ash trees also. Since then, they've come up with several disease-resistant varieties, and the elms are slowly making a comeback. They call it a quiet renaissance. It's a good thing, too, for all the benefits they provide for the animals and the people. But out of the 300 or so types of elm trees that have been identified, 120 of them are gone forever. Most of those disappeared in the 20th century due to Dutch elm disease. The loss was enormous, and the recovery is still happening.